What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. Hope everybody's had a great week, getting closer and closer to another Titans game, another Will Levis start as Titans starting quarterback, and the Titans on the road after the mini bye in Tampa against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. And hopefully the Titans, for everybody's sake, find themselves in a win column again and head to Jacksonville for an AFC South battle in Week 11 that could really turn the tables on the AFC South. But got to beat the Bucks first. We'll see if the Titans can do that. Sam, me and you will be on the Titan Game Day morning show, pregame, halftime, and postgame on Sunday for Titans Bucks. I've already got Timmy Sama in here saying Bucks by 90. Chat, you know it, which is an interesting comment to kick us off here. But Sam, you talked to Titans assistant coaches yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park, and one of them is in denial of one of the Titans' biggest flaws for this team. So we will discuss that. And then one Titans player you want to see more out of and trying to help Will Levis get another dub under his belt. We'll do that. Then we'll get to Ain't That Good News on a Friday. So we're going to have a solid show here, Sam. Welcome in. Let's get this thing off and rolling.
Hey, let's do it. Wrapping up a week here. Finally going to be able to look ahead to Tampa Bay a little bit. The Titans have been a whirlwind over the past few weeks here where it feels like the content, the talking points, the topics just keep piling up. But we do have a football game to discuss a little bit of as, kind of a must win for the Titans needing to get back in that win column. So a lot of interesting conversations to be had, and really curious to see what the chat thinks about my opinion of the video we're going to play from practice yesterday. But a good show on the horizon here, and make sure everybody joining us shares the show, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or even Twitch. Share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button. YouTube, take that YouTube link, send it to a friend, send it into a group chat. You can repost us on X, retweet us at ATOZ Sports, and make sure you get it out there that way. Find a way to find the Titans fan in your life and introduce them to A to Z Sports and join the conversation before we kick things off for a great show on a Friday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also, hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. And got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, protecting your information online, and get a 2-week free trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations in Middle Tennessee, Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. Their website online, KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, we have talked a lot of Will Levis, a lot of Ryan Tannehill. Jack and I got into a very long debate, me and Jack versus a couple people in the audience yesterday, about what Ryan Tannehill represents for this organization. And we'll talk about Will Levis and who around Will Levis on the Titans offense needs to step up a little bit more to help the rookie quarterback get another win as a starter in the NFL. But you were at St. Thomas Sports Park throughout the week. Thursdays is your day to talk to the assistant coaches. And there's been a conversation growing there about a massive issue the Titans have had over the last month or so that you asked Titans D-line coach and assistant head coach Terrell Williams about. And I was kind of surprised to hear the answer as I was editing this clip together. So I'll let you set the table for us.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we get assistant coaches every 2 weeks. And quite honestly with you, Austin, it's my favorite day of the week. Every time I get to speak with assistants, it's much more personalized. There's a lot of topics that I'll kind of have in the back of my head that I'm wanting to write about, wanting to get more information about, that you really can't get great answers from a player or from Mike Vrabel about, or even really Shane Bowen or Tim Kelly. They kind of tend to defer. You talk to a position coach, you're able to really focus up on a specific issue, a specific topic, and get some really good insight into the thought process of the team. And that's been pretty consistent across the board. So it's a day that I very much look forward to. I thought there was some great stuff, or at least very insightful stuff, from a lot of the Titans assistant coaches last week. One of those guys was Jason Hotailing, who I talked a little bit about Peter Skoronski with, and why Peter Skoronski might not move over to left tackle, different details like that. And I spoke to Terrell Williams because there has been a very clear lack of production from the Titans defensive line this season in general, but very specifically over the last 4 games and like 5 weeks or so, really since that Indianapolis game, where they haven't been able to stop the run. Really only in 1 game have they gotten after and affected the quarterback, that game being against the Atlanta Falcons. Other than that, they've been rather non-existent. And so I was really interested in speaking to both Ryan Crow, the outside linebackers coach, and Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach, about what was going on with this group and what was like, why they weren't effective. Because I keep talking to players, and the players don't seem to have many answers for me. Jeffrey Simmons kind of throws his hands up and disagrees with Mike Vrabel's statement that they're not winning at the line of scrimmage. Mike Vrabel says, "We got to win. You got to beat your guy." Jeff didn't seem to agree with that very much. I asked Arden Key in the locker room, what do you guys have to do to set the edge better on the run? Arden Key goes, "Next question." Like, no comment, next question. Very weird vibe. And so I finally got around to Terrell and got to ask him, like, look, what's going on with this defensive line, specifically a run defense that used to be at the top of the NFL that is now getting gashed for 100+ yards a game? Very interesting.
By teams who can't run the football like Pittsburgh Steelers. So here is the Titans assistant head coach and D-line coach Terrell Williams with Sam and Paul Kaharski.
When you say, like, you feel confident that you guys will be fine, that you'll be able to get back to it, is that just speaking and looking at the history of what this run defense has been?
No, it has nothing to do with the history. It has everything to do with our personnel and looking at where the mistakes are. I mean, you look at where the mistakes are. It's not like we're getting physically dominated. It's just a guy being in the wrong spot here or the communication and some of those things. But it's not. We're totally fine. If it wasn't good, you'd see panic, and there's no panic in our coaches or players. So.
But for 4 games, somebody's been in the wrong spot for 6 or 8 plays.
Yeah, and then you give up explosive runs. I mean, but you play 17 games. I mean, we just happen to have a bad streak. Last year, we started off with 2 straight games of bad ball where we gave up 400+ yards to the Giants and the Bills. So we just had a bad streak of games where, and again, what is it? Is it yards per carry or is it total yards? Because I look at the way we play Baltimore, and I feel pretty good about our run defense. All right, last week they got us with a couple of plays, and that's football, and you fix it and you move on.
So, I mean, Austin, I have a million thoughts about this. I have so many thoughts about this. And you, honestly, you cut out the beginning of that conversation where he said at the beginning. I mean, that first question of mine was a follow-up to him saying the words, "We're fine." And I was and pointing to, well, just look at the run defense that we've been in the past. Like, look at how good we were in the past. And so that prompted me to ask, like, so when you say we're fine, is that just because you're looking at how you've done in the past? And then he doubles down, and as Titans Kyle says, the quote, "We're totally fine" from Terrell Williams. He pointed a lot to yards per carry and not total yards allowed, and said, well, what is the yards per carry you're allowing? Because that's more important than the total yards allowed. And continually pointed to a few explosive runs. That's something Shane Bowen brought up in his press conference as well, of saying, well, I feel like we're pretty good as a whole as a run defense. There was just been like 5 to 8 run plays that we've, had trouble, like, turned into explosive runs that we've had trouble bottling up. And then the other 20 we usually stop and, there's tackles for loss. Now, I have a million problems with this. And number one being, I used this analogy in the Titans locker room. I thought it was a great analogy by myself. If you give up 5 to 8 run plays that are explosive run plays, you're a bad run defense.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good run defense that gives up 5 to 8 bad plays. You're a bad run defense. It's like myself, Austin, right? I was a pitcher. I cannot go and take the mound in a game and say, I'm a very good pitcher who's got great stuff on the mound today. I hit all my spots. 3 or 4 times a game, I hang a curveball and give up a bomb. But other than that, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
If I go out every game and I hang 3 or 4 curveballs and give up 3 or 4 bombs, I'm a bad pitcher that gives up runs. Like, that's just straight up what it is. And this is like where the Titans are right now, of a level of like delusion, denial, of saying we're totally fine, and it's just 5 to 8 plays a game we get absolutely gashed in the running game. I think it's a really bad mindset. I think, and part of what he said too, right? It's not like we're getting manhandled at the line. It's just guys are in the wrong spot. Well, if guys are lining up in the wrong spot, that's a problem.
Or how about this? Okay, guy, you're not getting manhandled, but you're in the wrong spot. How about the goal of the offensive line is to put your guys in the wrong spot, which means you're getting blocked, which could also correlate to maybe you're getting manhandled, and maybe you're only getting manhandled 5 or 6 times a game, but you're giving up 5+ yards a carry. And that's the other thing that I don't understand too, is he went on this whole thing of like, coaches don't look at total yards allowed. We look at yards a carry. Okay, that's fine, Coach Williams. Let's look at yards per carry allowed. Let's start where this began. Are you ready to go through this?
I have the number. I pulled it up yesterday out of curiosity. Last 4 games.
Yeah.
I excluded Lamar Jackson because I get like, okay, quarterbacks running it's a little different. End arounds to receivers, a little different. Running backs only. Last 4 games combined, 101 carries, 516 yards. It's 5.1 something yards per carry to running backs only over 4 games. So you want to look at the yards per carry, Terrell? There's the yards per carry. Bad. Like, I don't know what we're doing here.
Oh man. So he is, look, and the one thing he looked at was, the coaches are not panicking, and that's good. Like, I'm glad that they're not panicking, but when guys are in the wrong spot, they're either reading the play incorrectly or they're getting put in the wrong spot by the opposing offensive lineman, and whose job is to manhandle them to put them in the wrong spot. So, man. And Ramon Fidalgo brings up the buddy coaches, right? This is the thing of Mike Vrabel hiring his buddies. Duran, 5.1 yards per carry. I mean, yeah.
I do think Terrell Williams is a good coach, and he has been a good coach for the Titans defensive line. If you look at his body of work as a whole.
Yeah.
This is a very weird situation where it kind of makes sense to me as well, where like I've been confused by Jeffrey Simmons' response to some of these things, being like, why is he kind of like in denial about the fact that they're not winning at the line of scrimmage? Why does like Mike Vrabel comes out and says, we got to win our matchups, and Jeff doesn't see it as a problem? I think in that room, Terrell Williams and them are looking at the film and being like, we're fine. We're not getting manhandled. We're doing good. And that maybe makes Jeff feel better about like what's going on when he maybe shouldn't always.
Well, I'd say more often than not, Jeffrey Simmons is probably doing his job, right? Jeffrey Simmons probably doing his part.
True.
Yeah, right. So I think that's where Jeff's probably taking it more personally rather than the unit as a whole that has 6 other guys not named Jeffrey Simmons. So let's get to this question, Sam, because maybe we'll play that Terrell Williams clip again, because I did think it was eye-opening. And now we'll ask the question to the audience. What's a bigger concern for the Titans right now? Is it run defense or offensive line injuries? What's a bigger problem for the Titans right now? Run defense or offensive line injuries? But first, I'm going to tell all you guys about our great friends at Krebs Kubota. They are the best equipment provider in all of Middle Tennessee. They have 3 great locations across the mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. And they have the best brand in the industry with the Kubota brand. Krebs Kubota is an elite Kubota dealer with those locations, and also the best warranties in the equipment industry with Kubota and what they offer. Any line of equipment, any type of equipment, Krebs Kubota has it, and the best Kubota has to offer right there too. And so you can go check them out online. KrebsKubota.com is their website. Go peruse the website, find what you might be interested in. They've got the small equipment, the trimmers, the mowers, the zero-turn mowers, the push mowers, whatever is the right thing for your specific situation. If you've got property out there and you need something bigger, you need utility vehicles, tractors, other power units, Krebs Kubota has it all. You can buy it and they'll set you up for that. Or if you just have a weekend project, you can rent the equipment with Krebs and they'll take care of you. Great family-owned business in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. Check them out online, KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's up to $1,500 when you place that first bet. Even if you lose, you get that money back into your account in the form of a bonus bet with a second chance to win big. That's the best way to do sports betting is with the king of sportsbooks at BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, I fully understand I'm putting everybody in a bad spot, rocking a hard place. What's a bigger problem for the Titans right now, run defense, or is it the offensive line injuries? Let's go ahead and play the Terrell Williams clip again, because I do think that's now that we've played it once, we've discussed it, we can really understand and take in what he's saying in Sam's conversation with D-line coach, assistant head coach Terrell Williams about the run defensive issues the last 4 games.
When you say, like, you feel confident that you guys will be fine, that you'll be able to get back to it, is that just speaking and looking at the history of what this run defense has been? And
no, it has nothing to do with the history. It has everything to do with our personnel and looking at where the mistakes are. I mean, you look at where the mistakes are, it's not like we're getting physically dominated. It's just a guy being in the wrong spot here or there, or the communication and some of those things. But it's not. We're totally fine. If it wasn't good, you'd see panic, and there's no panic in our coaches or players. So,
But for 4 games, somebody's been in the wrong spot for 6 or 8 plays.
yeah, and then you give up explosive runs. I mean, but you play 17 games. I mean, we just happen to have a bad streak. Last year we started off with 2 straight games of bad ball where we gave up 400 plus yards to the Giants and the Bills. So we just had a bad streak of games where, and again, what is it? Is it yards per carry or is it total yards? Because I look at the way we play Baltimore, and I feel pretty good about our run defense. All right, last week they got us with a couple of plays, and that's football, and you fix it and you move on.
So, Austin, I will say he is right about Baltimore. For one, they did bottle up the running backs pretty well against Baltimore. He is also right about the fact that, that it is a bad streak of games, and they did have a couple back-to-back bad games to open the year last year, so there is some precedent there. Where I really have a problem with the Titans' run defense overall is the fact that the message I got from Titans coaches and players after they got gashed by Zach Moss and the Indianapolis Colts is the same message that I'm getting from the same Titans coaches and players now, which is Mike Vrabel talking about that we can't play peekaboo. We got to stay true to our gaps. We got to have some rush integrity, our rush lane integrity. We've got, the players talking about we got to set the edge a little bit better. We got to be in the right spot. And now I've got Shane Bowen and Ryan Crow and Mike Vrabel and all of these coaches saying, well, we're not setting the edge against the run. We're trying too hard to make plays, and we're not staying true to what we're trying to do. We're playing peekaboo, all of this stuff. And so my follow-up question to these coaches all week has been like, okay, but that's been the message for 4 weeks now, and it's still happening. And so it was an interesting, let's see if I did start. Ben had a comment earlier. Is it a Bowen problem or a personnel problem? I think it's a personnel problem for the Titans as far as the rush defense is concerned. And the reason being, I think if your message is the same consistently week over week over week, and the players fail to make the adjustment week over week over week, I just don't think you have the players and the personnel that are good enough and disciplined enough to stay true to their gap integrity and set the edge. And the Titans specifically have a problem with their edge rushers because they have one type of edge rusher on this team. I know I'm getting way off topic of like our conversation here, but they have one type of edge rusher on this team. It's a pin your ears back, speedy, third down edge rusher that's supposed to go get after the quarterback. That's what Harold Landry is. That's what Arden Key is. That's what Travis Gibson is. Rashad Weaver's really your set the edge guy, good against guy.
Rashad Weaver might be the worst at setting the edge.
And he's been awful this year at doing it. And the problem that they've had and that they keep running into is that those Arden Key, Harold Landry guys that you pay to go and get after the quarterback on third down, get after the quarterback and don't actually tackle them on third down is what the consistent thing has been. And then they're just not built to stop the run, and opposing offenses are starting to counter and beat them in those ways. So it's a problem across the board. And it's why I think this is an interesting conversation. I know the chat here, we can get into the chat's responses in a couple minutes, is very one-sided, but I do think it's a conversation worth having because of how bad and just ineffective the D-line has been as a whole.
And they're in denial about it. Clearly, like they're in denial about this. So let's get to the comments here. We asked the question, what's a bigger concern for the Titans right now, run defense or offensive line injuries? Caleb just says O-line, period. Scott says O-line. Jay says the defense is also getting 0 sacks. So like there's two things, right? They're not pressuring the quarterback like we expected them to be doing this season, and they're giving up an average of 5.1 yards per carry to running backs only in the last 4 games. Eric says offensive line. Let's see. Steven says run defense, Titans. Kyle says O-line. Major Key says O-line all day. Demetrius says O-line. IR says that with the asterisk there, the pass rush. Kyan says O-line. Steven says yes. Tank says O-line. Eric Davis says O-line. Brad says O-line. And Andre comes in here with a super chat. Said all season, bad coaching of a bad roster. They're continuing to show why they need to be cleared out, always putting players in bad positions. I don't know if we can say that they're always putting players in bad positions, but there is something to it. And I said it, maybe it was halftime, Sam, of halftime and post game of the Ravens game in London, that I am questioning the Titans coaching staff under Mike Vrabel's ability to coach this particular set of players. Like something like there is a block of what the plan is, and it's not happening, and it's not getting through to on the field in many different ways. And that first half in London was a representative of that. More comments. Jabu says O-line. DeMauro says O-line injuries. John says O-line. I mean, there's so many offensive line comments here when asking this question. I expected it to be more even.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I guess I'll float it to you. I feel like you're going to answer run defense. That you're more concerned about run defense right now than the offensive line injuries.
I can't answer it that way.
Okay.
I would love to, because look, I think this is a problem, and you guys have heard me talk for now 23 minutes about what a problem I think this is. Yeah. There's one reason, 2 words, one reason why the offensive line injuries, I think, are the answer here, and why I'm surprised the chat was that skewed, but I think the chat got it right. Andre Dillard. And so I pulled this up from my article last week, Austin, just so we can revisit, because, hey, news flash, chat. Andre Dillard's going to start at left tackle this Sunday. I don't know if I'm bursting any bubbles here when I say that. The man's going to start at left tackle this Sunday. I've been watching practice, just so you know. That's going to happen. So let's revisit this, and let's compare him to Dennis Daly real quick. Dennis Daly, 942 offensive snaps played in 2022, 12 sacks, 9 QB hits, 31 hurries, and a total of 52 pressures in pass protection. It doesn't get much worse than that. But in 2023, Andre Dillard said, "Hold my beer, Dennis. Let's see just how much worse I can be." 434 offensive snaps, 8 sacks, 9 QB hits, the same number as Daly allowed in an entire season, and 17 hurries, 34 pressures. Pacing at the same number of snaps Daly played, 942, Dillard would allow 17 sacks, 19 hits, 36 hurries, and 72 pressures. Daly allowed 52. Andre Dillard is on pace to allow 72. The man is a statue. The man, and Austin, I think you've got a video that Titans fans are going to want to throw up when they go watch here of Andre Dillard trying to I'll run it right here.
I got it. No, I'll get it. I'll get it because you picked a word that was very appropriate for the video I'm about to play. Statue.
This is atrocious. His guy is by him.
It's so bad.
In baseball, you call it a bayou ball. If you throw a ball that like a guy reacts to, swings really late. This is a bayou rush out of
and we're not talking about, LSU down the bayou. This is I think I have the what words Andre Dillard uttered as soon as this happened. I'll play it again. Like, all right, what's my responsibility? Like, okay. And then just bleep, right? Like it's like, oh no, I forgot. Like, and it's just like, my God, like how bad can Andre Dillard possibly be? And it's not like it's just that one play either. Like, okay, something happened there and there was a miscommunication and he wasn't ready when all other 10 players in the offense and Highsmith were ready to go, right? But Andre Dillard is so awful, and I feel like Andre Dillard is a cat. He's a cat with 9 lives. The Titans are trying to bench him, but they can't because injuries keep occurring.
Yep.
They benched Andre Dillard in London. NPF came in the game. NPF was better. Not great in London, but he was better. NPF then played against the Falcons and was better. And then guess what? Chris Hubbard, concussion. Now NPF has to go over to the right side because he's versatile and Chris Hubbard's out. And so now you have to put Andre Dillard back at left tackle. Okay. And then so you do that again and you're trying to overcome this. And then NPF gets hurt again. You're expecting, okay, Hubbard's going to miss the Steelers game. So get through it. And then you're going to put NPF back at left tackle and Hubbard's at right tackle. And then now NPF needs shoulder surgery, according to PK. And now Andre Dillard's back out there again. And now Daniel Brunskill's hurt, right? Because you're thinking Dylan Radins could be better at left tackle than Andre Dillard. But now Daniel Brunskill's hurt, and I don't know if he's going to be able to play. And so now you need Dylan Radins to play right guard. And so here's Andre Dillard on his what number life is this? If cats have 9 lives, what number life is Andre Dillard on? Because he was benched in London, so that ruins his first life.
You can go back let's go back to Philadelphia and say he dodged a couple lives in Philadelphia, playing through injury, getting a contract when he had no business getting a contract. I mean, he's running out of lives here if we're doing it that way.
All right, let's just say Titans lives, because I don't know how many lives he went through in Philadelphia, but he's getting close, right? So his first life, he got benched in London. He came back in, and Chris Hubbard's concussion, that was life number 2. He wasted that one. Now we've got NPF shoulder. There's life number 3. And I think Daniel Brunskill is life number 4. That is life number 4, Sam. In how many weeks? 3 games?
About as much. Yeah. Like they tried to play him. They tried to give him every opportunity to improve. They really wanted to stick with him at the beginning of the year. And it was just so bad that even Mike Vrabel, who doesn't usually make a ton of like drastic benching decisions like that mid-season, was like, all right, enough is enough. And so he is the reason why you have to answer our question with offensive line, because when a guy is that single-handedly detrimental to be on pace to allow over 70 pressures by himself in about 14 games played, for an NFL season, it's unbelievable, to the point where when everybody thought there is no possible way it could ever get worse than Dennis Daly, Andre Dillard showed you how it could be worse than Dennis Daly. And that I'd like to sit here and say the Titans literally can't play Andre Dillard anymore. And I kind of do believe that, but like, you don't really have a ton of options right now because of the injuries other than like Jalen Duncan at left tackle.
Yeah, and is Jalen Duncan going to be, I mean, we said with Dennis Daly last year that it probably couldn't get worse. And we found out, you F around, you find out, and here you go. Dennis Daly, it could get worse. And his name is Andre Dillard, who you're paying probably 10 times as much as you paid Dennis Daly last season.
The only thing that I think the Titans do like about Dillard, certainly over Duncan, is the fact that he is somewhat effective as a run blocker.
Which is so weird because that was his problem, is that he was a pass protector because he came from Washington State, like Mike Leach's version, RIP, of Washington State, where they just passed the ball 75 times a game. And Andre Dillard never run blocked in college. He couldn't run block in Philadelphia. And now he gets here and he can run block, but he can't pass protect worth a damn.
I think it's something to maybe has something to do with his speed. I mean, they can like pull him if they need to because he's got good athleticism, better athleticism than like a Jalen Duncan has for sure. So you can pull Duncan or pull Dillard and get some creative run designs or whatever that way. So maybe that's the reason why they're sticking with him. But like as far as pass protection is concerned, it really doesn't get worse than what he's done so far.
No, it's awful. I'm going to go back to kind of our main question here. What's a bigger problem for the Titans right now? Is it the offensive line injuries or is it the run defense? I'm just going to go back and just make a case for the run defense being the answer here. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans is also where you should turn for your health coverage, because I don't know how much you're paying for your health coverage right now. You might have forgotten already because it's just on autopilot in your mind, but you can probably do better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years across the entire state. They have fantastic partnerships with both the Titans, the Tennessee Vols, high schools, and youth sports across the state as well. They invest in their community, and you're part of the community, and they can invest in you with having a great health plan for you, your family, your situation, whatever it might be. So start your process to find a better health plan with Farm Bureau Health Plans by going to fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's a second chance to win big, whatever that wager is, up to $1,500. Even if you lose, your money's going back into your account in the form of a bonus bet, and you can get a second chance at it. So whether it's NFL, college football, college basketball, which is now in season, make sure you're making your picks with BetMGM and BetMGM.com, the king of sportsbooks.
All right, so Sam, we asked the question, what's a bigger problem for the Titans right now, run defense or offensive line injuries? Offensive line injuries, Chris Hubbard's back. Daniel Brunskill very much up in the air, kind of leaning towards him not playing, which means Dylan Radin's likely to be right guard. Center Aaron Brewer, left guard is your guy Peter Skoronski, the first-round draft pick, and then Andre Dillard is going to be the left tackle against Tampa because they don't have anybody else besides Jalen Duncan. So you mentioned the stat, running backs have averaged 5.1 yards per carry against the Titans the last 4 games. The last 4 games being in order: Colts, Ravens, Falcons, Steelers. The Titans' record is 1-3. They have lost those 3 games. All have been 1-score games. 7 points to the Colts, 8 points in London against the Ravens, and then a 4-point game against the Steelers. And I do think there is a very clear correlation to all 3 of those losses. And they did a good job against the Baltimore Ravens in run defense. Absolutely. But there were drives that the Ravens went on in that fourth quarter to keep it a 1-score or 2-score game. And they were able to convert because of their run attack. And so I do think that it was the 3rd and 7. Lamar Jackson scrambles for 7 yards. Then there was the penalty on Sean Murphy bunting. That was a key point in the Ravens earning field goal range to go up 24-13 in that game, effectively ending it on a drive that was 11 plays for 71 yards. The previous drive, when the Titans were right after Tannehill threw the interception, his last play of his Titans career to this point. The Ravens went 13 plays for 54 yards. It took 6.5 minutes off the clock because they could not do enough in stopping runs in key situations from Lamar Jackson there. So then you look at the Steelers game. They were able to milk clock and have big gashing runs with their duo of running backs who could not run the football the entire year. We all know what happened with Zach Moss in Indianapolis when he averaged 7.2 yards a carry and went for $165 and 2 touchdowns on the day. Even in the one win the Tennessee Titans had during this 4-game stretch against the Falcons averaged 5.4 yards per carry, ran for 140 yards, and Bijan Robinson averaged 5.6. And there were some times that they couldn't get the stop there, and that became a 1-score game because Taylor Heineke was able to score 20 points in the second half on that Titans defense. So you have these two things, the offensive line and the defensive run and the run defense, that are a complete, like, if you watch like the old Western movie and you see the two guys on the train tracks that are having to do like the up and down thing, the offensive line and the run defense are both these guys going back and forth, pushing this little thing down the track to a loss. They're just helping each other go back and forth down the train tracks to the Titans losing games. They're equally representative in them losing games because they can't get key stops. And then when your defense can't get key stops, your offense is put in positions where you have to score touchdowns and you have to throw the ball. And Andre Dillard can't get out of his stance and he lets Will Levis get sacked literally immediately. So it's the two idiot guys in the old Western movie going up and down the train tracks very slowly and ineffectively, and you're making fun of them the whole time.
Yeah, key stops is such a critical part of this Titans defense because on paper they don't always give up a ton of points, and so it's a weird way of Mike Vrabel focused very much on the defense against Pittsburgh in that loss to Pittsburgh. He focused on all the defensive problems in a game that they didn't give up a ton of points and that their offense didn't score a ton of points. But it does feel like every single time the Titans have needed a big stop, their defense has let them down, whether that's an explosive pass play down the field, whether that's a run for a first down on 3rd and 7, whether that's just allowing the opponent to have a drive that spans 8+ minutes and results in points and really takes the wind out of your sails as a team that's trying to build momentum. It's been a defense that doesn't come through in clutch situations. And I think that's as much on this defensive line as it is on anybody else, because you start to bring up, how many games this year have the Titans had 0 sacks from a defensive lineman? 5?
Is that, I mean,
I'm trying to think, but I can think of at least 3 or 4 off the top of my head.
I mean, Gardner Minshew was not sacked. Kenny Pickett was not sacked the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they got after with 6 total sacks on the Falcons quarterbacks.
They had one on Lamar from Harold Landry, but it was kind of like a step through sack.
And technically, Harold Landry's not a defensive lineman.
True. I'm just talking front 4. What, your front 4, how many sacks from your front 4? There have been multiple games, a handful of games here, where your front 4 has not had a sack at all. And so that kind of is why I think this is such a big issue. So yes, my answer is offensive line, but I think there's a case either way, because if you can't get off the field on 3rd down, you're going to lose a lot of football games.
Yeah. So I'm going to steal an analogy here in a second, because you had the analogy of, if you can call yourself a good pitcher and say you've got all the great stuff, but if you hang curveballs a few times a game and you give up 4 dingers, you're a bad pitcher. And so the reason why I say the bigger problem right now is the offensive line injuries. And I'm going to steal Mickey Ryan's analogy from his show on 104.5 The Zone yesterday. That was granite countertops. When you go into a house that's priced at a certain price point, you have high expectations. If you go into a house that's $800K, close to $1 million, you expect to have those badass granite countertops in that kitchen. the Tennessee Titans defensive front has granite countertops expectations, but they're not playing like that.
Yeah.
And so I expect the granite countertop type of guys to snap out of it at some point and play better. The Titans offensive line, I mean, you're working with like the old laminate from the 90s in your kitchen counters, if that's what you're rolling with right here.
Yeah, well, I think there's a great comment from MB. This is 100% on the money, and this is why the run defense is a problem. The defense isn't putting themselves into third and long. That's why they're struggling to get sacks. Yeah, because like I mentioned, those edge rushers, those Harold Landrys, Arden Keys, Travis Gibsons that you're paying to get after the quarterback, pin their ears back and go, those guys thrive in third and long. That is when they are at their best. Your run defense is bad enough that you don't ever get set up into third and long so that you're in a position to go get after the quarterback because you can't get tackles for loss. You're getting like 5 yards from a running back on first down and putting yourself into third and short situations instead of third and long situations. And it's a residual effect that, then carries its way down. It's a great comment. It's right on the money. And it's part of why this is like a chain reaction now that has led to a 3-5 record.
Yeah, a couple super chats here on this topic before we talk about Will Levis. Connor says, totally agree with Austin. The staff is blatantly getting out coached almost every week. Talent is an issue, but lack of discipline shows a disconnect. And I think that, makes sense from a lot of people. Sam, I mean,
it's tough because I agree with it. And it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that's wrong. And the Titans have great coaches across the board. Results speak for themselves. There is a level that I'm a little bit on the fence about because it's like, to my knowledge and my understanding, most of the Titans coaching staff is coaching the right things. They're saying the right things. For whatever reason, that's not getting through.
But that's the disconnect, right? Like the disconnect is they're
that
saying the right
in the coaching or in just the player and in a player's own ability. And
disconnect in the relationship between coach and player, I think is what that is. Let's see more super chats. Andre says, why can't they put Radens at left tackle and just elevate a practice squad player for right guard or Duncan? Left tackle is far more important. Radens should have been left tackle, but no. I mean,
Corey Levin had some rough snaps
at left guard.
Yeah, at left guard. He has played right guard in the past. I do tend to agree with this. I think you should take care of left tackle before everything else, but the Titans have made it pretty clear up to this point that they're willing to roll the dice with Dillard. So
I think it's just to try not to move too many things at the same time.
Yeah. You don't want to cut off the head of the snake to, fix the other part.
Yeah. So. I mean, you're shuffling the deck chairs in the Titanic, right? That whole thing.
Right.
All right. So another super chat here. Mike says, honest question. Was there no one in the free agency pool that the Titans get picked up to replace Dillard? Is he such a problem to the defense? Free agency like back in March or
there were options. I mean, I'll give you George Fant.
Fant was when they signed Chris Hubbard, and Chris Hubbard's been good.
Could have signed both. I mean, I understand, right? And this is part of but that's what Mike's asking about. It is, is there another guy they could have picked up to replace Dillard? The only problem with that, Mike, and the reason that I would say no, is both George Fant and Chris Hubbard wanted to play. And you had already paid Andre Dillard to play, and you weren't going to sell a guy like George Fant on, hey, come be our emergency plan in case our left tackle sucks. The reason George Fant didn't come to the Titans to begin with was the Titans thought Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to be our right tackle when he returns. And George Fant said, well, I want to be a right tackle for 17 games and I want to get paid like it. And so, that was their thought process. Chris Hubbard proved that he was able to come in and win that job. And, that was ended up being a good signing for the Titans. Chris Hubbard, an absolute A+ signing so far for what he has been, for what he cost them. It's hard to sell a good left tackle on, hey, come sit behind Andre Dillard in case he sucks. Like,
yeah, and George Fant, I believe, is playing right tackle for the Texans. And like George Fant and Chris Hubbard were brought in to be right tackles to replace Jamarco Jones, who could not stop getting in fights in practice.
You could have played Chris Hubbard at left tackle.
Yeah, but again, like in that moment, like it was like early August. It wasn't even like the pads had been on for like 4 days. And you weren't going to give up on Andre Dillard on August 5th, after you gave him the contract you did. At that point, it was NPF was suspended. Jamarco Jones kept fighting his teammates in practice. We need somebody to come in and not do that to get through the NPF suspension. And it was Hubbard or Fant. Fant wanted $4-point-something million. Hubbard was cool with like veteran minimum. So you went with the veteran minimum because you thought it was a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And now you have a way bigger wound on the other side that you didn't foresee happening.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened. So, I mean,
and so back to the original
you can
comment,
criticize it in hindsight all you want. It's just not I do think there was an error there, and it's a one big fat error, which is how the Titans evaluated Andre Dillard as a pro scouting process throughout free agency, and then the contract that they gave him. That it's one big fat mistake that has then led to a bunch of like little residual errors.
And then Nick says Rand gave up a draft pick for Dillard. No, he did not. Dillard was a free agent signing. You're confusing Daly. John Robinson gave up a draft pick for Daly.
And 6th round pick, part of the reason they traded Kevin Byard. So
yeah.
Daly for Kevin Byard.
Nick wrong there. But going back to Mike's original comment about why, was there somebody else? Like in March, when the Titans signed Andre Dillard, they were in that awful cap spot of just having to cut all your highly paid veterans and try to rebuild. And Andre Dillard was the most affordable potential starting caliber tackle there that they had upside on because he was a former first round pick that maybe they could get something out of. And from what Buck has said, Mike Vrabel was very much pro Andre Dillard signing because he believed in their staff's ability to get first round draft pick potential out of Andre Dillard, which clearly was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, dude just doesn't have any dog in him. So it is.
No, he's a cat. He's already gone through 4 lives in Nashville in 9 games. We'll see or 8 games. We'll see how that goes. Amnesia says poor offensive performance directly affecting the defensive performance. Even Ray Charles could see that. I mean, yeah, it's complimentary football, and this is what happens when you don't have complimentary football. All right, Sam, let's get to our other conversation about Will Levis and the Titans offense going up against the Bucks, because me and you we will be on our Titan Game Day live show for the pregame show. Will happen at 11:30 Central Time before Titans Bucks. But let's ask this question. Who is one player the Titans need more out of to help Will Levis get another win? Who isn't a player the Titans need more out of to help Will Levis get another win? But first, I'm going to tell you guys about Aura, who has been protecting my information online. They do the exact same thing for you. Aura.com/ATOZ is the link to follow to get a 2-week free trial with our sponsor, Aura, to protect your information. Identify data brokers who are selling your information to telemarketers and spammers and get that information stripped away from the data brokers. 30 data brokers had my information. Aura knocked that away in just about 5 or 6 days. And you're going to get a 2-week free trial when you go to our link, aura.com/ATOZ. Once you take care of the data brokers and you stop getting spam calls, then you go into password management protection, identity theft, credit theft as well, protection there. And then also password, I already mentioned password, but parental controls for the home Wi-Fi if you've got kids there on the devices too. Aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks, and you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win with BetMGM when you sign up with the bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's your first bet whatever that wager amount is, up to $1,500 back in your account in the form of a bonus bet and a second chance to win big, whether it's an NFL pick this weekend, college basketball season that is upon us, or the NBA. Make sure you're placing your wager with the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam, let's get to the chat here. Who is one player the Titans need more out of to help Will Levis get another win? I'll send you to the chat. What are the answers filing in here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch? Also, like the show if you haven't already. We need more likes on the show. Wherever you're watching, hit that thumbs up button for us. We'd appreciate that. What are the people saying there, Sam?
We got an Andre Dillard. We got Chig from Scout. We got Chig from Andre Bunting. We have a Chig from Brandon. Phillips from Darren Lee. Phillips from Eric. Chig from Jaron. Left tackle, says Roy. Traylon Burks, says Chris. Chig, says Mark. Chig, says Eric. Any receiver not named DeAndre Hopkins. Ryan Tannehill. Mr. Jones sticking to the bit. I love it. Hopkins from Albert. Burks from Nick. Josh Wiley, says Richie. Chig from Darren. Like every week, it's Chig from Ryan. Offensive line from Big G. Chig, Tim Kelly, Hopkins, Chig. A lot of Chig. Chig from Troy, Henry from Darren. See, Chig's, but want to say Burks is what Darius says.
Let's pause there on the Burks thing, because I've seen Ed says Mr. No Show, aka Traylon Burks. Like, yes, you want to get more out of Traylon Burks. However, he's still in concussion protocol after getting knocked out, losing consciousness just over a week ago in Pittsburgh.
He's not going to play.
Not going to play.
Traylon Burks is not going to play, so he does not really apply for this week.
And here's the thing too, because like Jaron says he's hurt, has the fanned hand on face emoji. Like, it's not like a player's control to not get knocked out when their head hits the turf.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like all of Traylon Burks'
it's a hot button
injuries,
issue for you.
It really is. Like, Traylon Burks' injuries are all things that, like, it's not the blister versus callus thing that Mike Vrabel was talking about all offseason. It's not like challenging Christian Fulton to train differently so his hamstrings don't keep getting tight. It's like the most unfortunate two concussions now that are not his control. Then the turf toe was a giant human lands on your foot and drives your toe into the turf. That sucks. And you got people, Daniel says, come on, Austin, he's soft. Like, I don't care how tough you are. If you have a concussion, you have a concussion. I don't care how tough you are. If you get knocked out, you like
the
the toughest
NFL
person
rules
in the
don't
world
allow you to play with a concussion. You have to,
this isn't the 1990s or 80s anymore.
Yeah. So anyways, Austin, who is it for you? Who's the one player that the Titans need to get more out of?
I think I have to agree with the chat. I think Chig is the answer because of the drops that he's had so far this season. I liked what I saw from Kyle Phillips in the game against the Steelers. Like, can that kind of start and continue to grow? Chig had some targets there at the end of the game when the Titans were driving down the field for that chance to try to win with a late touchdown. But those were easy completions underneath, kind of drop-offs, check down. Chig got out of bounds a couple times. So I like to see that he had the awareness to do that. But I feel like Chig can be and should be a yards after catch weapon that Will Levis can make easy throws to that have a big impact early in games to create a rhythm. But we have not seen Chig be able to create a rhythm really at all this season.
Yeah, our guy Evan Winter pointed out to me earlier in the week that Tampa Bay is awful against tight ends. And so it's something that their pass defense really struggles with, that they have always struggled with Todd Bowles as their head coach. So I think Chig is a very good answer this week. I'm going to stick with old reliable here, and I'm going to stay with Andre Dillard because my biggest takeaway from that Steelers game is that this Titans offensive line just needs to give Will Levis a chance. We cannot have 11 pressures generated by one pass rusher and have 9 of them come from the same guy, being Andre Dillard, allowing 9 pressures against Alex Highsmith himself. Can't happen. So we need more out of Andre Dillard to at least give Will Levis a chance to run this offense effectively. And if we do that, I think the Titans will be much better off, and Will Levis will be much better off for it. So I'm sticking with old reliable. And
yeah, I think that's but
it's the easy answer, but I think it's the
I
biggest Achilles heel for them right now is the pre-snap penalties and the holding penalties, and then the sacks, like the negative plays, and how you can protect Will Levis is huge.
Yeah, at some point, I'm not saying it's unfair to have higher expectations for Andre Dillard, but I think it's just smacking our own head up against the wall to say, hey, yeah, the Titans need to get more out of Andre Dillard.
Hey, that's true.
And I don't believe it.
Right.
I just don't believe it's possible.
I think that's fair, right? I mean, it's insanity to, keep having an expectation and keep getting disappointed and expecting something different. I'm not sure I expect something better. I just think, that would be the most impactful change that could happen. Is not for him to be amazing, but for him to just not be a detriment.
Don't make the easiest sack in Alex Highsmith's career happen, right?
Correct.
Just make it, and shout out Justin Graver for giving us that red arrow there to make that video clip a lot easier for me to find. I meant to say that earlier. But just don't make Alex Highsmith's career that much easier. And Darren says, Austin, it's not your fault, or it's not your right, Austin. It's not possible. Like I expect Chig to play better than he has, and I still believe that he can and will. I don't expect Andre Dillard can and will. I think Kyle Phillips can and will continue to do something, because we've now seen him in the 4 games he's played in his career. Basically, he's had 2 of those games where he's gone over 60 yards and led the Titans in receiving yards.
Yeah.
So I do like that. Something else I want to get to here, a couple super chats, and then Ken had a homework assignment that he came back with a little bit of results with. But Sam, first tell us all about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, they're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Don't fumble on your recovery. Schedule an appointment with them at boneandjointtn.org. Go to their state-of-the-art rehab facility located out in Franklin that has everything all under one roof, from clinic to rehab to image, surgery, testing. It's all in one spot out in Franklin at the Bone and Joint Institute to give you good, reliable care from the best in the business. Schedule an appointment with them again at boneandjointtn.org. Don't drive around Middle Tennessee for your different appointments. One spot for it. It's the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org to schedule an appointment.
All right. It's also time to win with BetMGM this football season. It's always great to take advantage of what BetMGM has to offer. And you have the first bet offer that's nowhere you can find better, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses with BetMGM. Again, the first bet offer, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses when you sign up with our code ATOZ Sports. This is also relationship with the Memphis Grizzlies that BetMGM has this basketball season as well. So check them out at betmgm.com, code ATOZ Sports, to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligible requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued to knowledgeable bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. If a problem, get support. Call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Before I get to Ken's homework and Andre's super chat, Sam, I have a bet that Jack and I talked about Thursday that I think is a really good thing to place at BetMGM. You ready for it? Normally we're doing like the player props and we find something that's in like the minus 110, minus 20, 120 range. Will Levis to throw over 1.5 touchdowns on Sunday versus the Bucks, plus 155.
That's interesting.
This Bucks defense just gave up 5 touchdown passes to CJ Stroud 7 days ago. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns from Will Levis, plus 155.
Well, I'm looking for BetMGM on the guy we just talked about, which is Chig Okonkwo, over 29.5 receiving yards at minus 115 on BetMGM.
Okay.
I'm riding with some of the information I've gotten and looking at this Bucks defense and how bad they have been against tight ends. The passing defense with Todd Bowles and the Bucs this year has been atrocious. And I cannot figure out what's going wrong with them. They have a decent front four, but that secondary is in shambles. And so their linebackers have not been very good in pass coverage either. So I like Will Levis targeting Chig a couple times here, getting a few big plays, big chunk plays to him. I'm going to go over 29.5. He's only hit it twice this year. I think this is time number 3 against Tampa this Sunday.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because Tampa blitzes a lot. So when you blitz a lot, you get beat right where you blitz from. And I think that's where Chig and tight ends can be effective there. So I think that's pretty interesting. Dion says, how in the hell do you throw a half a touchdown? It's so you can't push.
I don't think Dion has ever bet before.
Yeah, Dion, I'm welcome. You're new here. Yeah, it's just so you can't push, right? 29.5 yards. It's going to be over under right there with the bet. So that's how that works. But I do want to get to the comments real quick that I wanted to bring up. Andre says Burks is ineffective even when he isn't hurt. He's melted milk dud at the bottom of the box. You don't even realize it's there until you look.
Oh gosh.
I mean, yes, he's been ineffective this season outside of a 70-yard catch he got from Ryan Tannehill against the Chargers. Absolutely correct.
Hasn't done a ton.
But there are two conversations you can have here about how he needs to be better as a wide receiver. But he's also like, you can't call, I don't think it's unfair to call him soft because he's gotten 2 concussions from getting knocked out. And his only touchdown catch in his NFL career was on that first concussion, and he held on to the football. So that's that. Ken, Sam, had homework. He had to go tell me NFL quarterbacks who had a winning record in the playoffs because he was coming after Ryan Tannehill's losing record in the playoffs, even though he was a great regular season playoff quarterback. So Ken says, hey, Austin, fun fact, Russell Wilson's playoff record smokes Tannehill's, and he's getting cut after the season. Like, okay.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl.
And he's been to another, right? So when you make a Super Bowl, you're going to win at least 2 playoff games to get there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's like...
And also, Ken is cherry picking one of the most...
And Russell Wilson, I don't think he's getting cut at he's having a good year right now.
Yeah, he's not getting cut. The Broncos can't afford to cut him.
I don't think I would have to look at the contract. I'd be surprised if that happened. He's having a pretty good year. I know the Broncos are not, but Russell Wilson's actually been pretty solid.
Yeah, you're also cherry picking the most confusing personality swing in football to date. Yeah, Russell Wilson's going nowhere because if the Broncos want to cut him, then he will count $85 million against their dead cap. So he is not going anywhere.
We just sparked a debate because Darren says arguably going to the Hall of Fame. Titans Cal says he's not a Hall of Famer. I think Russell Wilson's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Not yet. I think he has to.
No, I think it's already done. I mean, I'll pull this up right here, but Russell Wilson career passing is what would you guess on the all-time passing leaderboard?
Maybe approaching top 20.
He is 20th on the dot and getting ready to pass Joe Flacco and Dan Fouts and get into 18th all time. I would also be curious as to see I can do this right here while we're here. So, top 20 passer of all time, Super Bowl champion. He is currently, let's see if I can pull this up. This is really bad podcasting, but
yes,
I'm going to look where he is on the all-time quarterback rushing list.
I think for me, he's not a Hall of Famer yet. He needs to have a rebound of how bad he's been the last year and a half in Denver more.
Third, Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, third most career rushing yards by a quarterback ever. Top 20 passer, Super Bowl champion, multiple time Pro Bowler.
I still think he needs to get the let's ride stank off of him more. If he retired after this season,
I don't think that matters a ton. I mean, there's a ton of quarterbacks that had bad ends to their careers, and it was a little ugly.
Yeah,
I mean, he was one of the top to 5 quarterbacks in the game for 8
I
years.
just don't think it's. I think he needs to again rebound from last year more than just what he's doing right now.
We'll see. I don't know.
Jack
I
in
think
Black says he's been playing himself out of the Hall of Fame.
again, he's having a good year. I mean, he leads the NFL in a lot of categories so far this year.
Yeah, I just don't think it's yet. I mean, before he got traded to the Broncos, he was absolutely going that direction. I just think it's been really weird. You got to get back on the rails for it. All right, Sam. That's it for Hall of Fame Russell Wilson conversation. Let's go ahead and get to Ain't That Good News to wrap up our week and send us to the weekend. That good news, and also going to give a shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon. Say hey to our guy Payne Bone out there in Lebanon, or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Also want to give a reminder, 40% off all of our merch. Shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. Shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. Please buy our stuff. Me and Zach do not want to have to keep this in our houses, so our merch is moving. So shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com for all of our gear. It's already slashed down 40% off. We're not making any money off of this. We just clearly don't want it to be stored because
I saw somebody say they need an A to Z hat, so go do it.
And I will paste. If you want to start getting to some good news answers, I will go ahead and paste the store link in the chat for everybody there. So go get yourself a hat.
Good news. Zach says he is heading to do a Jack Daniel's distillery tour later today.
Nice.
Sounds fun. That's interesting. Bork says good news. Successfully surprised his wife and daughter by decorating the house for Christmas while they weren't home. Austin, are you a decorate for Christmas before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
After.
Okay, there you go. There's the take. I kind of agree. I tend to agree. But I also understand some people want to do it before because if you do it after, it's like it's only up for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then is it worth it to like do all that work for 4 weeks? People like to get their money's worth here.
Yeah, I'm typically a later pull down the Christmas decorations person because
really?
I mean, like
after New Year's, I feel like it's got to go.
Yeah, but it's also like that's like the last week of the regular season. It's playoff time. It's college football. I'm just busy, and all of a sudden my time to do it is taken up, and it's MLK Day, and the tree's still up. That's it, especially in those couple of years when the Tennessee Titans were playing deeper into the playoffs.
Yeah,
it extended the Christmas decoration season.
We have good news. The painful year is over for Nashville SC. They're wanting a new coach next year's American Toff. They made the playoffs. I don't know if that's like a huge
when you have the league MVP, they had higher expectations.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about that at all. Matt said, good news. Michigan's going to prove the strength of schedule haters wrong against Penn State tomorrow. That is a huge game. I'm excited to, see who comes out on top there. Let's see. Good news. Let's see. We've got Ken says he schooled the A to Z crew on playoff QBs.
You picked Russell Wilson. Like I said, go find all of the list of quarterbacks that have a winning record in the playoffs. You gave me one. I gave you one. I gave you Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's 14-13. Like I said, go find the list of quarterbacks, not go find one guy.
Yeah, there's not many because
that's the point. Like there are quarterbacks that have winning records, but there's not like a ton of them that have winning records.
All right. We've got Tiffany says she's heading to Gatlinburg next weekend for a Friendsgiving with 10 plus friends, ready for the cabins. That sounds like a blast. I like a good Gatlinburg cabin weekend. I've done a couple of them before. Dimitri says, good news, his college alma mater's homecoming is this week. And shout out to Fisk University. Shout out to Fisk. What happens at a college homecoming? I've never really experienced that.
Parades, parties, concerts.
All good things. All good things.
Yep, all good stuff. Fun things. Hopefully a win in the football game.
Yeah. Austin, what's your good news this weekend?
My good news is that it's continuing to work on the house. That is all of the downtime that we have right now is going into that. And I'm excited about the plans, the purchases that have been made. That is the good news for me this weekend. Hopefully, I have a chance to watch Tennessee beat Mizzou on Saturday. But my good news is continued work on the house this weekend. Pumped about that moving in just 14 days from now. Whoa, that hit hard.
There we go. There
Oh
we
my.
go.
I looked at the calendar and said, "Oh, okay, 14 days.
That's
Great."
sneaking up on you.
Yes. That's what about you?
My good news is that I'm feeling better-ish. I'm still, we're on the back end of like a sickness that was like really kicking my butt earlier in this week. I was in some bad shape, like Monday through Wednesday. I had to power through a morning show Wednesday. I had to power through a couple days at the facility, just not feeling good. My favorite part about being sick is that feeling of like coming out of sickness, how it kind of gives you some rejuvenation a little bit. Now I'm almost there. So my good news is that I'm starting to feel a little bit better and hopefully get some energy up. And then also college basketball. I'm pumped about it. We all know I wait all year. Yeah, you guys wait for college football. I wait all year for baseball and college basketball. Illinois is 1-0. They play again tonight. And I have been enjoying myself that I can just like relax and watch some college basketball. That has been that's been great. So,
There you go. Tennessee at
ILL.
Wisconsin tonight is a good game too. Hopefully, Vols can get
Tennessee at
one out.
Wisconsin. I will be rooting for Tennessee.
There you go.
Unfortunately,
Devin says, "Good news! I passed my firefighter exam." Shout out, Devin. That's cool. I would be very curious to what all goes into being into a firefighter exam. That sounds good. Also, see some shout outs for Veterans Day. Veterans Day tomorrow. So if anybody's off work today for Veterans Day, shout out to all of our veterans. To want to recognize them for that being on Saturday. So that's it for us. We're gonna have a lot of great content throughout the weekend. The Vols halftime and post-game show with Jonathan Crompton and Charlie Burris. That is tomorrow. Buck will be live from Tampa Sunday morning. Me and Sam will be live for our pregame show right before 30 minutes before the game against Titans and Bucks. So we'll see you guys then. Please go buy our stuff. Shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. Go buy our stuff and like the show on the way out. Buying our stuff's 40% off. Liking the show is free and easy. You can hit that thumbs up button before you leave. Appreciate it. Have a great start to your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.